And we began this year with the theme of awakening. Awakening. And my topic today is awakening to the great I am within. Awakening to the great I am within. At this time of the year, there's so much self-examination that goes on. There's so much evaluation that goes on. Goal setting and making resolutions and promises about what we're going to let go of or what we're going to keep or what we're going to try. And unbeknownst to us, there's a lot of picking ourselves apart that goes on with some of that. And we're busy trying to make a new and improved model of ourselves. And all of that's fine, but I want to invite you to spend more of your time awakening. Awakening. Starting with the assumption that you are already perfect, whole, and complete. Letting that be your foundation. Not, how do I figure out what's wrong with me? How can I figure out why I'm not where I want to be? How can I make more external things happen for me to advance me? But how can I unleash the greatness that I already am? There are such a things as world views. And the world view becomes the paradigm in which you live. And where we are now, in these here United States, right at this moment in history, we are still living under the vestiges of the Industrial Revolution and a very mechanized approach to life. And we're coming up from underneath this, from everything from physics to business management. But it has a fix-it mentality, where it looks at things not holistically at all, but as separate and individual parts. And we have to intervene and manage these individual parts to try to get them to work a certain way. Our Western approach to healing and health is like that. So we have a specialist for every conceivable part of the body. And what happens with our pharmaceutical approach, and this is not a wholesale thing against Western medicine. My father was a pharmacist for 58 years. Sometimes I joke and say I grew up on drug money. So I have much respect for the profession. And it's to say, if you listen to commercials, if you ever listen to a commercial about a pharmaceutical product, personally, I don't even know why that's legal. No, honestly, I don't know why it's legal to advertise something on television that people can't go buy. That they have to get, ask your doctor if you have all these symptoms and if this drug will be good for you. So it's planting all that stuff in your head to begin with. But, so say, are you depressed? And take this pill. May cause suicidal thoughts. your arms fall off and you swell up and, let them know if you're doing blah, 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 because it might be fatal. And I mean, by the time they get through with all the disclaimers and people are dancing through the tulips, you go, what? And there's this notion here that I'm so single-minded and I'm just going to work on this thing and side effects be damned. Listen to what I'm saying. That's our approach on almost everything. Economic policy, foreign policy. We're trying to accomplish this, side effects be damned. It's just collateral damage. These loss of lives or what happens to the environment or the pollution, it's just a side effect of our going after these profits or whatever it is. That's got to change. Okay? It's got to change. We really have to understand that everything works as a holistic whole. And I'll let you know, this was the moment when I was just done with this particular paradigm and knew that in my own life I had to make a shift. So this was probably maybe early 90s. And at this particular time, I was a consultant to an AIDS organization called the Shanti Project in San Francisco. And one of the things that was very problematic in the early days of AIDS here was that all of the medications that were out there had only been tested on men. They didn't test on women because women were a more difficult group to test on. So there was this one particular drug that they were testing to see if it could prevent prenatal transmission of HIV. So if you took this drug, if a pregnant woman took this drug, could it keep her from passing on the HIV virus to the baby? That's what this big study was about. So those of us who were up against the government and everything on this stuff posed the question, what is the impact on the mother? And do you know what the response was? That's a very good question, but it's not the focus of the study. And you mean to tell me that you are giving pregnant women a drug to see if they're going to transfer it to in utero, but you are not measuring the impact on the woman? Are you kidding me? But that's what was happening. That's what was happening. And something just clicked. The enormity of this paradigm, are you with me? This enormity that somehow or another, I'm going to focus just on this, but the rest of the impact be damned. No. We need to stop picking ourselves apart. There is something within you that is right, that is whole, that is perfect, and that is complete. Every healing modality knows this. They know this. They might have different ways of trying to get there. You'll hear me use the example from time to time of open heart surgery or heart transplant. That if you're given a new heart, the doctors are counting on the fact that your body is going to receive that heart and literally not skip a beat. Not skip a beat. So even something as invasive in Western medicine as a heart transplant is still counting on there's something right in your body and trying to tap into what's right. So we might have all kind of ideas about what is this that we need to do to stimulate the good cells or the good stuff. So some may say, well, we need to take this thing and kill everything off. Somebody else says, no, we need to do this other thing and, increase your chi. I don't care how you look at it, but the healing doesn't come from getting rid of disease. It's not about getting rid of cancer. It's about tapping into the health that's underneath. And any cancer survivor will tell you that at some point, energetically, it had to shift. It had to shift from just trying to fight the cancer to loving themselves, to loving their body. During this same time period, and it might have even been that same day, there was a woman who was part of the testimonials. And she had been a survivor of full-blown AIDS for 7 years. This was like back early 90s, when nobody had expected her to live more than 6 months. And she had gotten to the point where they couldn't even see traces of it anymore, which is really rare anytime you have a virus of any kind. And I never will forget what she said. She said, I loved the virus away. I loved the virus away. I loved it away. Okay, are you with me? You got to bring all of you to the party. Wherever this is you think you're trying to get to, you can't leave any part of you out. Now, there are parts that may be in the shadows. There may be parts that need to heal. There may be parts that don't need the keys to the car, that need to be in the back seat instead of the driver's seat. Okay? But you take you with you for the transformational journey. The universe wastes nothing. The universe wastes nothing. So absolutely everything about you is part of your great ministry in life. Every hurt, every pain, every degree, every obstacle, every victory is part of your human capital. And Spirit wants to use it. Don't hide it. Don't be ashamed of it. Stop being guilty. Stop being mad. Stop being resentful. Stop the blame and shame game and just stand in it. Lay it down on the altar. Allow the divine to transform and to transmute it into something that is a blessing. Love you. We just got through singing about there's only love, and we tend to think of love as an emotion. I'm not talking about love just as an emotion. I am talking about love as the unifying power in the universe. The only thing that ever needs to be healed is the sense of separation. The only thing that ever needs to be healed. I don't care if it's in your body temple. I don't care if it's in global politics. That sense that we're separate from whatever, separate from protection, separate from wealth, separate from health, separate from what? It's just separation. And it's just a sense of it, because we can never be separate from anything. It's just a sense of it. And love is what heals the sense of separation. It is love that is that unifying factor that makes you feel connected to everybody and to everything. There is only love. It's not a diverse. It's not a triverse. It's not a biverse. It's not a multiverse. It is a universe. There is only one, and everything is coming out of the one. And if you want to be healed, if you want to be whole, if you want to move on to whatever's next, it's unify with the oneness. Unify with the wholeness. That everything you're looking for, you're looking with. Beckwith says that all the time. What you're looking for, you're looking with. You are the love. You are the peace. You are the joy. You are the power. It's who you are. And then it becomes a question of unleashing it. Breathe. There's a poster about religious perspectives. And out of due deference to children in the room, I'm going to call it crap. But it's like crap happens. And it goes through all these different religious traditions and their perspective on why this crap happens. Buddhism. What is the sound of crap happening? Hinduism. This crap has happened before. Islam. If crap happens, it is the will of Allah. Catholicism. If crap happens, you deserve it. Judaism. Why is crap always happening to us? Protestantism. Let crap happen to somebody else. And I added the more New Thought metaphysical version. What did I do to create all this crap happening in my life? We have taken the notion of cause and effect way into the law of diminishing returns. And from a new physics standpoint, we're finding there's stuff even beyond that. But the point of it is that too many of us are so stuck in this sense that I made my bed and I've got to lie in it. Or how do I make another bed to get out of this one? But I'm more concerned with fixing. Once again, in that mechanistic model, like somehow or another I have to do an intervention in my life. Which is very different. It's very different coming from the standpoint of, well, what do I have to do to learn how to get out of my own way? To say, how can I stand in the truth of what the divine has for me so much so that I can't even get in the way? Listen to that. You can't mess up your life. You can't ruin your life. You're not that important. You're not that significant. There is nothing that you could ever do that would diminish one iota the truth of who you really are. You can get fogged. You can get confused. You can get sidetracked. And you can get detoured. But you can't even get lost. You can't get lost because there's no place to go. You can only be lost if there was a specific place for you to go. But your divine purpose is not a place. Your divine reason for being is not a destination. It's not a particular thing to do. It's somebody to become wherever you are doing whatever you're doing. It don't matter if you're on the mountaintop, and it doesn't matter if you're in the gutter. There is not a lesson that can be learned one place that cannot be learned in another place. It's just different scenery. Some routes are just a little bit more scenic than others. But it's not a different lesson. There's not something that you can learn in this classroom that you can't learn in the other classroom. It's the same lessons. We're all learning the same lessons at different levels, different emphasis, but it's all the same thing. We treat the spiritual qualities as though they're different, but they're not. Power, love, trust, truth, wholeness, confidence, purpose, vision. It's all the same thing. It is as though it is a sensory illusion. It would be like if you were holding a glass of water. To the eye, it looks clear. If you touch it, it feels wet. And you turn it around and you can see it's fluid. But you can't separate the wetness from the clarity from the fluidity. It's all in there, but you wouldn't be able to perceive the wetness if you didn't touch it. You wouldn't be able to perceive the clarity if you didn't look at it. Are you with me? So it's like we're bringing these different sensory perception and thinking that it's different stuff, but it's not. So newsflash, it doesn't matter where you start. It doesn't matter what you focus on. It really doesn't. If you focus on enough love, you'll get to the peace. You get to the peace, you get to the joy. You get to the joy, you get to the power. It doesn't matter. It does. We have this obsession in our society with wanting to be right, with wanting to do it right, with wanting to get it right. And we fear more. That fear of being wrong paralyzes us. I remember when I was at Prudential, in real estate investments, they used to tell us if you didn't make any bad deals, you weren't making deals. If you didn't make some bad deals, you weren't making deals. It was like, roll with it. And it was the first time that I had heard that phrase paralysis by analysis. Paralysis by analysis. And we can think about it and think about it and think about it and think about it. And what I am inviting you to do is to stop so much with the cognitive thinking. Yes. That's not where the freedom is. It's like breathe into you. Breathe into a visceral awareness and an experience where vibrationally you're emitting the field, I'm okay. And I'm okay. As simple as that sounds, that I'm okay and that everything about me has meaning and purpose. I don't have to sit here and figure out what comes along or what doesn't. The universe knows. Life knows. You can't lose something that's yours. You can't even lose a lesson that's yours. How many of you have tried to run from a particular lesson, tried to lose that sucker, and it just kept whipping it decade after decade, baby? You can't lose anything that's yours. And yet, we don't have to drag along stuff that we don't need. There's only love. There's a place of trust. I'm not saying you're going to just jump into it, but you got to put your toe in the water some point. That what's supposed to come will come. And what's not, won't. But you won't be worse off because what's right will show up. We have to make room for the new. But it's not something that you have to pick and choose about. Do you get what I'm saying? You don't have to pick and choose which friends. You don't have to pick and choose which whatever. If you just lay yourself on the altar and say, Mother, Father, God, I'm ready. Use me. I am ready to step into my great purpose. I am ready to step into my great being. Whatever you have, carte blanche. You have carte blanche. One of my prayers that I say all the time throughout the day, from the 23rd Psalms, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. This is from the Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. It's a humility. It's a humility. Sheep are kind of unique. They have no defense mechanisms. None. They don't have teeth or claws. They can't run or jump or camouflage. They are particular prey. They cannot move side to side, nor can they back up. So they are known for getting themselves into tight squeezes that they can't get themselves out of. They meander around and easily get lost, which is why there's sheepdogs and stuff. And they're easily spooked. Have any of you ever been around sheep that are corralled or something when they're spooked? They're like a swarm of fish. They're just like a circle like this. They're like a group mind think. So on the one hand, they just wander off, and on the other, they will literally follow each other off the cliff. It's like completely off the cliff. When they roll over or fall down, they can't get back up. They're like this. And when you see pictures sometimes of the shepherd carrying the sheep, like this, that's so the blood can get back in their legs. Because if they were laying down too long on the sides or on their back, the blood goes back the other way and their legs are a little wobbly. So they're holding them like that to get the blood back. Okay? So they are really, really vulnerable. And the guy who wrote this was King David. But he's the same David and Goliath, the little shepherd boy David. So he knew what that was like. Now, he is everything. He would have been like the Pope, the president, the Supreme Court judge. There was no separation. So he's the head of everything. Religion, politics, like he the man. We're talking like absolute monarch. But for him to humble himself enough to say, the Lord is my shepherd, means I'm a sheep. That's a certain amount of humility. Can you feel the difference in that? To, I got to get this right. I got to know what I'm doing. I got to figure everything out. To, I'm a sheeple. I'm a sheep. I don't know. I don't know where the green pastures are. I don't know what's out there. I don't really know where I'm going. I don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to stop it. Can you feel the difference in that? Thy rod and thy staff. So the rod is, sometimes they use it like a walking stick, but it's used to keep away the predators. And I don't know how we got mixed up on that, about spare the rod and spoil the children, meant beat the children. You don't beat the sheep with the rod. Spare the rod means if you don't keep away the bad influences, if you don't protect the children, it has a negative impact. Don't beat the kids. Thy rod, it keeps the stuff away, and the staff is the hook that brings you back, that lifts you up out that crack, that keeps you from going over, that brings you back into the fray. So I give the divine carte blanche. Listen to what I'm saying. I say, don't wait for me to figure out I'm lost. Don't wait for me to figure it out. Even if I think I want to be there, if I'm not supposed to be there, yank my behind back. Don't even let me go over there. Just bring me back. You'll figure it out later. Listen to what I'm saying. You'll figure it out later. We get this idea like, I got to figure it all out beforehand. No, you don't. Because you spend more time trying to figure it out. It's like the joke about the guy that went to the psychiatrist because he was biting his nails all the time. So 6 months later, his friends were asking him, how's that going? They said, it's fine. You know, it's really enlightening. Well, are you still biting your nails? Well, yeah. But at least I know why. You see what I'm saying? Most of us are busier trying to figure out why we're off than giving the universe the permission to put us on. We're busier trying to figure out why we're off rather than just saying, baby, there's something about me that's on. It's not lost. It's not weak. It's not damaged. It's not too late. It's not too whatever. Just as I am, God. Just as I am. Just as I am. This is the way the universe works. It wastes nothing. You take the planet, you take the Mother Earth, she wastes nothing. She wastes nothing. Even the crap is fertilizer. Can you let your crap be your fertilizer? The great I am within you just awaits your affirmation. All it wants is a yes. It'll even take a maybe. I'm serious. I'm about to end here, but I talk about this in forgiveness. When I say sometimes you may not be really up to forgiving. Well, am I willing to forgive? I'm not so sure. Am I willing to be willing to forgive? Well, maybe. Okay. Am I willing to be willing to forgive? It doesn't matter how far back you got to go. Are you with me? There's just a start place. There's just a start place. It's like a scientific experiment where you are the great hypothesis, but you can only prove something does work. You can't go into it proving it doesn't work. It's like if I'm trying to prove that this thing is a light bulb it can turn on, the experiment isn't, can I prove this doesn't turn on? It's got to be, can I prove that it does? So even if you don't believe this stuff, just try it. What do you got to lose? What do you have to lose? Certainly, the divine can't mess our lives up any more than what we've already done. Really? Really? Can we let God be God because nobody does it better? And just try, hey, what if there's this even curiosity? What if I'm okay? What would that mean? What if my life is filled with meaning and purpose? What if I have not ruined my life? I'm telling you what I know. And I have brought on more than one occasion people up here who we met incarcerated for life, who are out and doing wonderful things with their life because they dared to believe. I don't care what's going on. Do you hear me? I don't care what's happening in your bank account. I don't care what's happening in your bedroom, your relationships, your job, your health conditions. In spite of all of that, you are perfect, whole, and complete. And nothing can change that. But will you affirm that? Will you see it? Will you awaken to the great I am? Not I am this, I am, just the great I am. within. I am. In Hebrew, it's actually a heye. Technically speaking, I have been what I have been, I am what I am, and I will be what I will be. Because it's all now. Let us pray. Let us pray. Amen.